storm tag goes over the PFD. Yeah. That's why it's so important to have for just about any kind of boater, because you don't have to take your PFD off. Now, you know, just take my word for it. It's a good thing to have if you're out there.
What's it called?
Cag. A storm cag.
Storm cag?
NRS or
Cocotat makes them.
you can get it on Amazon, I'm sure. But so this all goes in the center hatch. Now I'm not going to pull it out, but I also have my tool kit, my repair kit, if you will, that's in the requirement list. I've got all the spare parts I need for this. I've got enough spare parts to rebuild this guy. It's all in the center hatch. Okay. But now I want to get to a very important piece of information. And we're going to talk about what all this stuff weighs. Packing your kayak or other small craft. I'm going to aim this mostly at kayakers, but if you're on a SUP, you really have to think about this. In a Hobie, you have to think about it, but you got a lot more leeway. But anyway, over the years, when Sea Kayaker magazine still existed, they had a lot of series about things happening in kayaks, and they eventually made a book called Sea Kayaker Deep Trouble. I have that book. I've read it. It's a wonderful book. You can get a condensed version of that on marinerkayaks.com website. I hope they still have it.
Chief.
Huh?
I'm just trying to find. I'm sorry to stop you, but does anybody own that SUV right here?
Not the blue one. I've got the blue one. You mean that silver
Yeah,
one?
the gray one.
Oh.
That's the, I don't know what it is yet. But okay, no problem.
Okay.
We got the receipt for the Explorer over there. We haven't put it in yet, or the Excursion.
Yeah, the Excursion. We got a parking receipt. We haven't put it in there yet.
The Excursion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big tall gray one there.
Some of that same about the size of that boat over there.
Yeah. That's his high water rescue vehicle.
Anyway, there's a website on here now. Last year you could still do this, but things were getting kind of iffy with the Mariner kayaks, so I don't know if the site is still up. But anyway, I'm going to rub it down for you anyway to the key points. In any small boat, three common problems, and I've seen this time and time again in Water Tribe, and in 2015 it hit us hard. We had a lot of boats have a lot of problems, and it was because of this stuff right here that I'm going to go through. Three things. Too much stuff that overloads the boat. Too much stuff. You'll see I have a lot of stuff, but we'll get to that. Then the other side of it, not enough stuff so that gear can shift, resulting in poor trim. You have a well-trimmed boat, and all of a sudden you're bow heavy, and you can't do anything about it because you didn't have enough stuff in your boat. And then, what's another one with not enough flotation? Everything you put in your boat, with very, very few minor exceptions, needs to actually be flotation. Now, when I gave this presentation originally at Bill Jackson's, they have a pool there right next to where you give the presentation. And I had those kind of boats right over there.
I got a picture of you in that pool.
You remember that?
I've got a picture of you in that flooded epic.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, here's what we did. We took my kayak with everything I was going to take on a Water Tribe adventure. We put it in the pool. We took off all the hatches, and they started pouring buckets of water in, including the center. Just filled it up. As much water until they couldn't get any water in anymore. And I was still floating, and I could still paddle that boat. Why? Because I had it packed appropriately. Okay? If you pack your boat appropriately, and the worst happens, your deck hatch comes off. We actually had it happen to somebody. Their deck hatch came off. Didn't come off the back, it came off the front, and they were bowed down in the water, and there's nothing they could do about it. So, except maybe get to shore eventually, get blown onto a beach, and then you can fix it. But the point is, if you're packed correctly, they would still be afloat. So, too much stuff. Let's talk about that first. It's very common, very, very common. But here's how you solve that. Every boat out there, including SUPs, including kayaks, canoes, Hobies, sailboats, I don't care how big your boat is, how small your boat is, it should have a designed load carrying capacity. You should be able to go to the website for the manufacturer of your boat, and they should say your boat can carry a total load of 300 pounds, or your boat can carry 500 pounds, or your boat can only carry 150 pounds. You know, you need to know the full load carrying capacity of your boat. For the 18X Sport, the design payload is 380 pounds. Okay, that by the way includes the person in the boat and all the stuff that we're wearing. Okay, 380 pounds. Would you want to load that boat up with 380 pounds?
No.
No. No. You don't want to load your boat to its designed full capacity. I've got my own rule. You can make up your own rule if you want, but I recommend the highest you ever go on any boat is 80% of the design maximum of the load. So when you work that out, 80% of 380 is 304 pounds. So you're giving up almost 80 pounds of capacity. Now, if you do that, your boat is going to be low in the water, but it isn't going to be as low as if you put another 80 pounds in. Your boat is going to be faster because you have less wetted surface area on your hull, so you're going to go at a faster speed. It's also going to be you're going to have a little bit easier time to handle your boat, and because it's still got 304 pounds in there, it's going to be more stable than an empty boat. So all things considered, if you load it up to 80%, 75%, something like that, you're good to go. That's what you're aiming for. Now on my Hobie here, let me see if I can find it. Oh, well, let me give you the opposite thing. CLC Night Heron. CLC is a wooden boat. You can build their kayaks and stuff. And the Night Heron has a maximum payload of 300 pounds, which yields 240 pounds. That would be tough for me because I'll fess up. I weigh, with all my stuff on, about 220 pounds. That's all I'm going to say. I won't fess up to any more than that.
We'll edit that out.
But if I have 220 pounds in a 240 usable payload, what does that leave me with?
20 pounds.
20 pounds of camping gear plus food and water? Forget it. It ain't working. I can't use a Night Heron. Now you get some skinny mini out there who comes dripping wet, weighs 95 pounds. Well, sure, they probably can get away with a boat like that. So you've got to figure it out on your boat, and for you, what is your design maximum load? Now the Hobie here, the maximum payload is 400 pounds. That gives me 320 pounds. So if I take 220 off of that, I've got 100 pounds of gear I can put in the boat, and I'm good to go. Gear, food, and water. And you know, I come in a little bit less than that. I think I come in about 10 pounds or so less than that. I forget what it is. It can vary depending on how long the trip's going to be and how much water I got to carry and all that. Anyway, rule number one for being on the water: total payload. You limit your load to 80% of the maximum payload. Any questions? Okay, good. Shifting items and poor trim. This is a good one because you can get everything else right, and if you haven't loaded it correctly, you're in big trouble. So here's one of the things you want to consider. One of these bow bags. This bow bag, and you have to fill your bow bag with something. This is filled with peanuts. Now if you buy peanuts, styrofoam peanuts, not real peanuts, styrofoam. Well, they're very worried about the environment, so they made these styrofoam peanuts that if they get a drop of water in them, they basically disappear. All of these bags, every bag I'm showing you leaks. They all leak. You cannot count on them. So if this boat gets flooded, this bag will leak. and water will get in there. It's not going to completely fill up with water, but it'll start getting in there. If I have peanuts in here that dissolve in water, they're going to go away, and all my old flotation is going to go away. Okay, so test your peanuts. The other thing you can do is use pool noodles. Take a bunch of pool noodles and cut them up to the right length and put them in here. That way, if it does fill up, you still got